Welcome back. This is once again Casual K from Beat Stockpile, and I'm glad you decided to click on this video and get started in our lessons on music theory. And the first video, of course, is note names. Now, if you're on your phone watching this, or if you have a computer, you're at the computer, open up your notepad or whatever note taking application that you use and write down note names at the top and come to bullet point number 1. The first thing you need to know is there are only 12 notes in Western music. Okay, let me repeat that. There's only 12 notes in Western music. Even though you see this keyboard up here with tons and tons of notes, it's only 12 individual notes. Bullet point number 2. There's only 7 note names in the musical alphabet. Did you get that? There's only 7 note names in the musical alphabet. So even though you look at all these notes once again, it's only 7 letters. It's only 12 names. Now you're probably thinking, wow, how do you do that? Look at the black keys now. You have groups of 2. You have groups of 3. That makes up 5, right? So 5 and 7 is 12. And that's how you get the 12 notes out of only 7 names. Alright? So first we need to find our first note. And the musical alphabet starts on the letter A, which is right here. But we're not going to start on A. When we learning the music, the notes on the keyboard or the note names, we're going to actually start with the letter C, which is right here. Okay? Now, to find that letter C on any keyboard, you look for the groups of 2, and you go to the note, which is called a semitone or half step to the left. So you have the group of 2, and you go to the note directly to the left, and that's your C. Okay? If you want to write that down, feel free. It's simple, but some people are better taking notes than others. So, some people learn better by taking notes. I'm the kind of person, I had index cards and notepads all over the place when I was learning. So, that's the reason why I'm pointing out. If you want to write that down, feel free to write that down. Okay? So, again, so you have the group of 2, and you go directly to the left. Directly, do not skip any notes. Go directly to the left of that group of 2 notes, and that's your C, and that's going to be the beginning point of our musical alphabet. Even though, keep in mind, A, that other A I played was off the screen, so you couldn't see it. We gotta play this A here. A is technically the beginning, but for a learning purpose, we learn to the left of the group of 2 notes here, so we learn with C. And now remember I told you there's 7 names. Alright, so just like the English alphabet, we're going to go in order. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C. So that's considered the octave because there's 8 notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That spacing or that interval is called an octave. Okay? So now, so we have those 7 names. How do we come up with the other 5? We're going to do that right now. Alright? Now remember when I told you the group of 2, and you go to the left, directly to the left, and I said that was a half step or a semitone. You know, semi means half, like a semicircle. Semi just means half. So if this is a half step, and I go from the C 1/2 step forward, I'm doing what's called sharping the note. So if I go from this C a half step forward, I get to this note, and this note is called a C sharp. Okay? Now, I'm not going to show you the C and go down a half a step because, to be honest, that's a little confusing for beginners. So I'm going to start with the D, and I'm going to go down a half a step to what's called a D flat. All right. So when your tire goes down, your tire goes flat. So if you go start at the D and you go down a half a step or a semitone, you go D flat. D, go up, sharpen that knife. D sharp. Oops, I'm sorry. D sharp. D flat. So those other names come from going up a half a semitone. I'm sorry, going up a half note or down a half note. So let's start with the C again. So C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Okay, now we have a problem. There's no black note, right? So what do we call this? For right now, we're going to just call it F. All right? Okay, so now we're going to go F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, A sharp, B, and then a problem. But for right now, we're going to just call this C. All right? Now, you just heard me say a couple times there was a problem. That's really not a problem. It's just a lot of people, when they learn the keyboard or when somebody tell them the white notes are just the full name and the black notes are flats and sharps, that's not really true. That's the first misconception, I guess, we can disprove in music theory right now. Your black notes are not just considered flat notes, right? Flat or sharp notes. Some of the white notes are flat and sharp also. And this is when we come to say the C. Got the two black. This is our C note. If I told you if you go down a half a step, it becomes flat. So you have C. This is C flat, right? If I go to F, I go down a half a note. This is F flat. All right, so that's something that you want to write down and keep in mind. Now, on the beginner level, most teachers are not going to teach you that because you're not going to write. We don't write music on pen with a piece of paper anymore. Most people don't know how to read a sheet music. That's just something that's being lost. I think it's important to still learn sheet music. I still read sheet music. I think it's just something that helps you keep sharp, keep fresh, but that's not important right now. Most people don't know how to read sheet music right now because of the DAW. You're learning on a piano roll. But just keep in mind, anytime you go down a half a step, that note becomes flat. So in reality, this is really going to sound confusing. This C sharp could actually be called, if we move down to this C, in theory, this C sharp half step below, now get this, this could be called a C sharp flat. Alright, C sharp flat. Now, I don't think there's hardly any cases that you're going to ever see that, but I just want to make sure you understand. Anytime you go down a half step, that's considered a flat note. Anytime you go up a half step, up is to the right, down is to the left. Anytime you go up, that's a sharp. Anytime you go down, that's a flat. Anytime you go up, that's a sharp. Oh, wait a minute, we just did something different. Now this E, and I said we was going to call this an F. This F now is actually considered an E sharp. Okay, this E can be called an E sharp because depending on what scale we're working in, what key we're working in, sometimes we have to call notes by different names. So whenever you hear those people out, well, I don't want to say it that way. Whenever you're in, say, a certain key, and you have to go forward here, a half step, and when we get to the whiteboard later on, maybe you'll understand this a little bit more. But this E, going going up a half step makes this F an E flat, only because it's a half step above the E. Okay, so the main point of this video is half step up is sharp, a half step back is flat. The note names start with the letter C, and just like the English alphabet, you go in order till you get back to the C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. All right, that part I hope you can understand, because that's the most important part actually of this video, is that there's 7 note names: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then 8 note is back to the C. The other thing that's important, of course, let me come here, the sharp and the flat. Sharp is a half note up or semitone up. Flat is a semitone down. Alright, so write that down. Sharp is a half note upward. Flat is a half note downward. And also you might write in like a little star and say, sometimes you have flats and sharps on white notes. So just, you can keep in the back of your mind when somebody asks you, show me the flat notes, and you don't just say the black keys, because that's not the true answer. And you can actually, probably a Jeopardy answer or a trivia answer sometimes might, when people might say, what are the 2 white flats? And you can say B, oops, B and E, B and E. Alright, so that's our first video, and I hope you understood that. And I mean, feel free to write me if you don't understand exactly everything that was said in this video, and I'll go over it. I'll read the comments and address everything that's any problems that I brought up. Alright, I'm Casual K. Have a nice day. Our next video is actually going to be about scales, and I've actually already showed you one scale in this video, but maybe you didn't pick up on that, and you probably have no reason to pick up on it if you never dealt with music yet. But the first scale was already displayed in this video. So let's jump into the next video, and I'm going to explain to you what that scale was.